Welcome to Mallett and Michelle on Dripping Springs, hosted by me, Michelle Lewis, and Steve Mallett.
Hey there, Michelle. How are you?
Hey there, Steve. I'm smelling the paint fumes from our
the
updated...
office or the studio renovation is in progress.
Yes.
I can't wait to get out of this cave, the original studio, into the new and improved studio.
That's right. We're going to have a ribbon cutting here once everything is set up, and we invite everybody to come out. We'll let you know when that's going to be.
The new studio brought to you by Capital Farm Credit, Mark Rutledge, and Montana Schrader of M. Elliott Studio.
M. Elliott Studio. So, Steve, you know how much you love having your phone ring?
Not.
Okay. So did you know that October 4th at 12:20, everybody's phone in the United States is going to have an alert go off, even if you have the alerts turned off, the Amber Alerts, the weather alerts, all of that. Well, FEMA and FCC are getting together to do a nationwide emergency alert test, and every single cell phone will have this alert go off. You cannot turn this off.
Oh, great.
If October 11th does not work out for some reason, if there's some sort of, I don't know, the aliens have finally, made their presence.
Abducted everybody and did their weird
That would
things.
be delicious. October 11th is the backup date if anybody's still alive after then. But so
they're going to do it on the 4th and on the 11th?
No. If the 4th doesn't work, yes, October 11th.
And so we can probably assume, because that's the way the federal government works a lot of times, is it doesn't work the first time.
It'll work. So, there's been some really wonky things that have been going on lately. I don't know if you've heard about the cyber attack that's been going on in Vegas.
No.
Like the MGM properties were hit with a cyber attack. All of their slot machines were down. People couldn't get into their rooms. But then yesterday, I heard that the tower at Austin was offline, and they had to ground all
the air traffic control tower at the airport?
Yeah. So there's just some weird stuff going on. I don't know. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I'm pretty much turning into a conspiracy theorist.
We should have both gone to college to be hackers. We'd be a lot wealthier than we are right now.
That's true. Well, my son was an amateur hacker.
just enough to get in trouble, called to the principal's office.
Yeah, just enough to get him to get it on his permanent record.
Yeah. Well, October is here, and you know what that brings to Dripping Springs. It's always been the pumpkin patch.
Yes.
But now we have the pumpkin festival. Did you hear about that?
Well, that was huge last year because of the
Is this
traffic.
the second year? I didn't hear about
it
it
is the second year, the traffic.
Well, it started September 23rd, goes all the way through October 29th. It's over at the Pound House, which they're encouraging people to carpool because there's not much parking over there.
Well, yeah, because it's crazy. It was crazy over there. But
Halloween's on a Tuesday this year. Did you know that? That's like one of the worst days of the year to do it.
Well, now I'll know to hide in the backyard, turn all the lights off. Yeah, turn it all off.
Do you even leave a little bucket out there?
Not anymore. I used to go all out for Halloween, and I'm over it.
I always liked the houses that did the bucket because you could just get like a handful.
Yeah, and you were those kids, and that's why I don't do a bucket.
That's right.
That's right. You know what else is coming up in October? Kind of around in the same area in Dripping. October 14th, it's a Saturday, right before I go to Europe, is going to be one of the first of the two big eclipses that are starting to happen. And I think they said it's going to be like 11:30, it's like 11 to 12-ish, right around there. I'm going to be getting my hair done. So I'm downtown Austin during at that time. But yeah, and then the big one's April. But there's a lot of events that are going on in October.
Apparently, Dripping Springs, this whole area, Kerrville, Fredericksburg, is right in the best path to see it. And we have, I was going to say dark sky, but it's in the middle of the day. But, it's supposed to be, people are coming from all around the world to come here to this area to experience that.
I think everybody's going to be experiencing a dark sky except for the baseball fields out by Henley.
That's true. That's true.
That place lights up.
It does.
I think you can see it from space.
It looks like Aliens Day. It looks like a spaceship landed over there.
I just don't think they're being good neighbors. That's my opinion. I think that they're just not being good neighbors. I saw a post where they were saying that those lights are on sometimes until 1 a.m.
Yeah, email Michelle about that, please.
Yeah, I don't think so. So
well, guess what else is coming up?
What's that?
Starting next weekend, ACL, where everybody in Austin is either drunk or stoned or complaining about the wait lines at the restaurants and the traffic.
How's that any different than just a normal Tuesday?
That's true. That's true.
Like,
yeah.
have you ever been?
I have never been. And actually somebody asked me, hey, if you got free tickets, would you go? And I probably would go with free tickets, but I'm not buying tickets for ACL. Have you ever been?
I have been given free tickets and I gave them to my daughter.
Because you didn't want to go.
I don't want to go. I don't want to go around all those people and it's just you have to sit on the ground and you have to pee in a box
hot.
and no.
So this year,
and I don't care about any of the people that are like.
Well, actually, I'll read some of the music people here in a second, but I want to give you some details. So it's October 6th through the 8th and the 13th through the 15th. It's always 2 weekends. This is the first time they're going to have cocktails available. Well, people are bringing in their own,
No,
I guess.
I thought they had alcohol.
No, I was just reading about it. They have alcohol, but it was beer and maybe wine, but now you can get cocktails.
Oh,
there.
see, you know what? I think you can probably get cocktails now in a can, kind of like when we had Brad on.
Maybe that's what it is. They have a new thing called the Barton Beach Tiki Bar. So I don't know what that's about, but I'm sure there'll be a bunch of drunk people around there.
This sounds like a great idea.
Yeah. They're also going to have, this year is like part of the theme is sweet treats. So they're going to have cotton candy, ice cream, popsicles, all kinds of sweet stuff, and 50 food vendors, which is up from 39 last year. So they've added a lot more food. Do you want to hear? I actually have a pretty long list. I will not read
give me
all
the
these.
highlights.
This is the music. I don't know what the highlights are.
Let me see. Let me look at your phone. Let me see if I can. Okay, Asleep at the Wheel.
I know.
I mean, they're Austin.
Yeah, the number one is Asleep at the Wheel. I have heard of that.
Well, but I've seen them. Jimmy Vaughn. Okay.
Jimmy Vaughn's on there? I didn't see
Jimmy
that.
Vaughn's on there.
Read some more.
Font. Die Spitz. The Disciplines of Joy. Bill Keller.
No idea.
I'm sorry, not Bill. Ben Keller. He's a Dripping Springs resident. His son, the skate park is named after him, Devin.
Oh,
now,
well, I didn't
so
know
yeah, okay, so I know him. Katie Kirby, no, Benny and no, I don't know any of these people. So yeah, no.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be a blast. I don't know how many people go to ACL, but I know that during the ACL weekends, we will run downtown because we're gone by the time the craziness starts most of the time, but we can't park in our normal places. But I'll avoid Austin like the plague during that weekend.
I'm leaving town that Sunday. Oh, you know what?
That's right.
Actually, one of the days is when the solar eclipse will happen. Oh, crap. I'm going to be downtown getting my hair done on the... Oh, no.
The double, triple whammy for you.
Okay, so one of the other things that I wanted to bring up, I think it was last episode or the episode before last, we talked about the new laws that were passed in Texas, like the 720-something or whatever laws that were passed. Did you know that prior to September 1st, you could be given a badge, be given a gun, and call yourself a sheriff or be elected as a sheriff without ever having law enforcement background. Yeah, ever. So they just passed.
You could run the local sheriff's department with no background.
You could manage shootings, murders, run the jail, and you've never been to an academy. You've never had any type of training.
That's ridiculous. They changed that.
So they just changed it. You now need a peace officer's license in order to become a sheriff in Texas. And there's 254 counties in Texas, and every one of them, every 4 years, needs to elect a new one or reelect the old one to be the county's top cop in Texas. But it's insane. Oh, think about these mass shootings. I think in Uvalde, which was a tiny little town. Look at the debacle that happened there with the
and that sheriff was.
I don't know his background.
Yeah,
I don't, but I do know that in Hays County. So November 11th is the date where you can start to file.
Okay.
December 11th is the deadline to file. There are several
to run for sheriff.
There are people, several people that have already submitted their campaign finance reports. I have been very vocal about this in the past, but I'm a supporter of Anthony Hippolito. He has 24 years of law enforcement. And there are, surprisingly enough, some candidates that are running for Hays County that have no are not holding license. There's one that is trying to push through his CE license and maybe trying to get somebody to hold his badge or whatever. But I think Anthony Hippolito is the man for the job.
And he's been a previous guest. So if anybody is listening to this episode and wants to know more about Anthony, I think it's somewhere in the 70s. But that was a great interview with him. And he's a good guy. And I think he would lead the sheriff's department with a lot of skill, and he's a good character.
Well, and he also is one of the leading fentanyl experts here in the area, not only in Hays County.
Which is becoming a huge issue.
So he's very highly desired as far as his knowledge for that. But there's some other caveats to this law, but so if you were elected sheriff, you did not have your CE credits or you did not have your license, you had 2 years within your office. It'd be like going to the doctor, right? And saying, I need to get my appendix out. And he's like, okay, I'm going to figure this out as I'm working on you. That's kind of the equivalent of it.
Getting your real estate license and somebody hires you to sell their house and you go, well, I've never done this before, but I'm going to figure it out by selling your house.
Yeah, well, we've seen that before. But the new law also requires at least 5 full years as a paid peace officer or federal special investigator. But it also allows veterans or National Guard who have 10 years of active duty service to be able to run as well. So that makes sense. But makes sense. Just know your candidates. Don't just vote for somebody because they have a certain letter by their name.
Do your research. Know who you're voting for. I think there's too many people that don't do that. They go into the voting booth and they just look for those D's and R's. And if that's what you're doing, it doesn't matter which side you're on. You're not doing it right. You need to know who you're voting for.
Also, along with the law, we forgot to say who our guest is going to be today, Alex Thompson.
Yeah.
She is an born and raised, amazing young woman here. She is an attorney, but a lot of people may know of her because of her father, Bama Brown.
Who has also been a guest.
And a friend of the shows for sure.
Yeah, he's helped us out with a lot of things.
I look forward to sitting down with Alex and getting to hear her story and what she has planned.
Yeah, I've got a lot of good questions for her, and I want to hear about. She's got an announcement, I think, and so we're going to take a little break and get her in here. Proudly sponsored by.
At Capital Farm Credit, they understand that owning land is more than just a transaction. It's a legacy, a future, and a place to call your own.
For generations, Capital Farm Credit has been the trusted lending partner for land loans, farmers, ranchers, and rural dreamers just like you.
Their personalized loan solutions cater to your unique needs, making the journey to land ownership smoother than ever.
Capital Farm Credit, your land, your legacy. Visit CapitalFarmCredit.com or Mark Rutledge at 512-892-4425.
Capital Farm Credit, an equal credit housing lender.
Interior design should be an investment in your life and home. Let M. Elliott Studio transform your space, where interior design meets excellence in Central Texas.
Beyond just selecting colors and furnishings, team principal and owner, Montana Elliott, is a trained and licensed interior designer.
With her knowledge of architectural principles, building codes, space planning, and design theory, her team will work with you to understand your needs and lifestyle.
From concept to completion, M. Elliott Studio is committed to enhancing your space with a timeless and classic style.
Ready to redefine your space?
MElliottStudio.com, 512-781-0224.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Mallett Integrity Team of real estate professionals. They are based in Dripping Springs and bring you over 45 years of combined experience helping people reach their hill country real estate dreams. When you want the best in town, call them at 512-829-2062 or look them up at MallettIntegrityTeam.com. And now, here's Steve and Michelle.
Welcome back. We have Alex Thompson here with us, Dripping Springs native and now fancy schmancy attorney.
Welcome to the show, Alex.
Hi, thank y'all for having me.
Yeah, you're born and raised in Dripping Springs. That's pretty rare these days.
I am. I'm one of the originals. Been here since 2000, since I was 4. So.
Oh, geez.
I know.
I feel really old now. I was born in 63. Jeez.
What brought your parents here to Drip?
I know that my dad had bought some land years ago. I mean, even before he met and married my mom. And then I think they just kind of moved out here. He and my mom, they saw kind of, 10 years from, because it was only the subway and the stop sign. I mean, there was literally one red light.
You were a part of the, and I'm going to use this very lovingly, you were part of the mold.
The mold babies,
They were
yes.
the mold babies.
Oh, you were in
Yes.
school when they closed down the elementary school because of the mold, huh?
I was.
So did you have to go to one of the churches or did you get moved to one of the schools?
We were at the church. Our group was.
Which church? Was it?
Oh, God, I think it was the Methodist one.
Okay.
Yes, that's the one I think it was.
So for those that don't know, one of the elementary, it was Dripping Springs Elementary, wasn't it? Or, yeah.
Blue school.
And
It
they
was
had,
like 2001, right?
no. It was like 2000. Wait, was it 2000?
I think it was because it was over by the time I moved here in 2003.
So anyways, they had mold, and so they had to close the school down, and all the kiddos kind of went to either Walnut or the churches just took them all in, and that was a very interesting time for you guys. And then you guys go to middle school, and they decided that it would be a good idea to switch the middle and the high school. So you went to one school. You'll
so
never
you must
left.
have graduated with my son
Yes,
Colton
and Logan,
then, because so that was the same for him. He stayed in that one campus.
The
which
whole
middle
time.
school became the high school. Yeah.
Under construction the whole
time. These
Yeah,
poor kids.
yeah.
The fact that they survived all of that, COVID has nothing on these kids right
Yeah.
here.
True.
Nothing.
What are the biggest changes that you see in Dripping Springs since you first remember growing up here, Alex?
Oh, man. I mean, obviously, it's exploding with people.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny to watch at first people saying, there was old Drippin' and new Drippin', and I think there's still kind of that. And now it's kind of, they're all having to mix together through whether it's school or, it used to be very, we're old Drippin', you're new Drippin'.
It's true. Yeah.
I was
Isn't
new
that-
drip. Now I'm old drip.
I remember whenever it was Belterra was being built. It started happening then. I mean, it's always been growing, and there's just so much. When we got the HEB, I feel like we really moved up in the world.
I know,
For the Home Depot.
So you,
It all
you grew up
changed.
with Super S.
Of
Jeez,
course, I had to buy my founder's tickets at Super S. I'd make my mom drive down there, and we'd have to go stand by the moldy bread and
the green meat.
the green meat.
One day we need to have somebody on that actually worked at Super Sucks and just kind of explain to us what the whole process. What was the process?
That sounds like a terrible
about
show.
this for sure. But you growing up here in Dripping Springs, your father was kind of the well-known person, the well-known personality, especially in Austin and in Drip. And he, Bama Brown is your dad, for those that don't know, and he will gladly tell anybody that Alex is his daughter. But you grew up kind of on the radio station.
You were a guest, or not a guest,
Well,
but you
every morning,
sat
right?
Every
what?
morning, really.
Well, I'd call in every day, first day of school. Even the last day of law school. I mean, I called and
that's
it was
cute.
really fun. But I'm 2 weeks old and was on the radio.
Oh my
Put me on the radio.
gosh. He talked about that, didn't he? Oh,
I wouldn't say anything, and he had to squeeze me to make me.
that's right. Don't
Yeah.
squeeze the baby. That's right. Don't squeeze the baby.
Poor
That's
Alex.
funny. Oh,
This is a public cry for help.
yeah.
Yes, this is why I'm on here, actually.
And you were very involved with the community growing up too. I was reading on your bio that you ran bingo at the senior center in high school.
I did. They still do.
Do they do it now?
I think, I know people were volunteering with it, but I mean, I started as a freshman, and originally because my grandparents, we moved them there, and it was just sad. And so every Saturday for 4 years, I think I missed 3 times, and I would do bingo, And let me tell you, they cheat. So anyone who tells you otherwise, they are some tricky people over there.
I would cheat.
How do you cheat at bingo? I guess you say you got the bingo and you didn't. You have to check their cards.
Well, that's probably how they did it, huh?
I checked, and honestly, we had to start cracking down on a couple, but it was really great. I mean, I
bet that was a
loved it.
highlight of their week, a lot of weeks.
It was. Yeah. I mean, it was really cool. We did other games, but that was the main.
You also were one of the head trainers at the high school for football.
Yes.
And that's how, outside of your father, that's how I got to know you, because you worked with my son Logan. And why that? What propelled you into that?
Well, the honest answer, I needed an athletic credit, and I wasn't on any sports team. I mean, I rode horses, but I didn't play on the volleyball team. Started doing it and loved it. Was going to be honestly a doctor and maybe do it in college, but I knew I wasn't going to have a life if I was going to be an athletic trainer for the football team. I mean, your schedule or the football player's schedule. So, but I loved it. I enjoyed it. And I got to be on the football field every Friday night.
What's involved being the trainer of the football team? Like taping them up and...
treating their injuries. I mean, limited. Obviously, they have professional. But, I mean, wrapping ankles if they have minor injuries, giving them water. Really giving them water.
telling them not to whine. Like,
that
it's
too.
Just a sprain. Just
really and truly.
Yeah. Get back on the field.
Limiting, their whining.
Yeah.
That was me up in the field. Stop being up.
Yeah, she was the enforcer. She'd come down there.
Well, so then you graduated from dripping, and then you went to Mississippi State?
No.
What's Ole Miss? So do I need to edit
What's
that?
Ole Miss?
No. We're leaving that one.
Yeah.
We're leaving that
terrible.
one in there.
You stepped in it. No, Ole Miss, University of Mississippi.
Okay.
Mississippi State.
It'd be like University of Texas, Texas State University.
Okay,
yes.
all right.
Well, what I wanted to ask you in regards to Ole Miss was that I was actually surprised that you went outside of Texas when I heard that you were going to Ole Miss. Do you think that part of it had to do with you kind of wanted the anonymity of leaving Texas and not, everybody knew your dad, everybody knew you here in dripping, and you just kind of wanted
Why'd you choose that school?
Yeah, and honestly, I still don't know. I think about it a lot all the time. And I originally was going to go to A&M, everyone was doing that. No one really went to Ole Miss at all. The first one was me, truly.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
So, and it was I saw it. I don't know if I know it was really popular because of The Blind Side, and, The Help had come out at that time in the movie theaters. But I know that it was we stopped on the way coming back from Alabama, visiting my dad's family, and it was about the time of touring schools, and we said, we're, driving through. This is voted the most beautiful campus, and got out of the car and just knew. I knew it, but I kept going forward with, I'm going to go to A&M, really wanted to go A&M and didn't get in. And then kind of had what am I going to do? And it was and I had so many options. And then I just honestly wanted to put myself out of the comfort zone, I think, to your point.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I was going with safer options, and I needed to get out and experience the world and be on my own and in a limited way. I mean, and I'm an only child. So, I mean, it's me and my parents. And really and truly it was,
Are you really the only child? Because there is your father.
I mean,
he's like the oldest child.
That's what my mom tells people. Yeah, but I didn't want to leave him. I didn't want to get away from him. But they would come visit too, and I think they wanted it for me too. Yeah. And it was the best decision.
Was it a culture shock, kind of going there? You were still South, right? But
it was the South. But it was the South. I mean, it was, and Mississippi's not exactly known for its bustling, right? But it really is that Oxford is kind of this little pocket. I mean, and William Faulkner lived there, and John Grisham lived and went to school there, and so there's this awesome pocket of culture in Oxford that is just It's gorgeous. I tell everyone I know, you need to go visit. You need to do a game day. It's the best game day, but it's just the best town. It's so
great.
cool.
Did you know you wanted to go to law school when you went to school there?
I did.
Okay.
I did. It was, I think, I don't know, junior of high school. I was a junior of high school and knew I don't like science and I don't like math, so I'm not going to be a doctor. And so then I just, I knew I always kind of wanted to do that. And that was pretty much the path. I always enjoyed it and, did dating violence mock trial in high school and liked that.
Explain to those. I kind of knew, I knew what it was, but explain what that was in high school and what that involved for the high school students.
Yeah, and they still do it. Executive.
You're in charge of it, yeah.
I am. I'm the executive director, and so in charge, very important. But it's cool because I was the first group that did it. And it's a mock trial, and you go to the Hays County Courthouse. They use real judge, real staff, and the incredible staff that coordinates and works with us on that. But they put on a real trial, and the kids, the high school kids, use a case. Sometimes they'll use a case that's maybe in the news, but they'll make their own, and about dating violence. And it brings awareness, and helps educate them. We also have Hayes Caldwell Women's Center, HCWC. They come and speak, and we have speakers that kind of put on presentations afterwards, educating the kids, and they serve on juries, they're witnesses, they're attorneys, and they put on the case. And then we see, I think now we're up to, this past year we had the most sponsors and the most signups, and we had 6 juries. You can see, it's not just one jury because so many sign up. And so then do they go see a real trial prior to kind of being involved, just to kind of get their feet wet, or honestly, you just throw them into it? And we throw them in,
yeah.
And they, at first we kind of wonder if maybe that was the better option to do that. They love it. Watching these kids, they're so smart.
Are these kids that are interested in going to law school, or is it just kids that want to know more about? How
the judicial system.
Yeah, the judicial system.
Say that judicial system.
You're smart. But some of them want to go to law school. A lot of them they see it, they think it's interesting. They hear about how great it is. I know that honestly, more than last year, I really heard a lot of this too in the past couple of years. They do it and they get that awareness, and they want to help. They want to keep volunteering and help people with, that are victims of this dating violence.
What's the time commitment for them to be involved in this?
It's really, we do practices 5-6 weeks leading up to a weekly practices, and we have real attorneys and even real judges in the area that volunteer their time and coach the kids.
It's
amazing.
So they have you will choose the prosecutor and the defendant.
They try out. They try out. Sometimes we'll ask them. It changes every year, but we ask them questions, and sometimes we'll put them. Usually, if a student comes in and says they want to be on one side and they were on the other side the next year, we'll try to make sure that they get the most out of the program, because we usually have return students that want to be on the prosecution or the defense or be this witness or that witness, but it changes every year.
Do you think that's what got your feet wet and wanting to become an attorney? You kind of started to see both sides of it, and you're like, hey, I think I could do this for a living. Absolutely. Or did you ever have aspirations to take over what your dad does?
Oh, no, but I will say I majored in corporate marketing and relations, just kind of not out of spite, but I did like it. And, I thought about it, not being on the radio. I think my poor parents would have stroked out if I did it. They just would say, do not do it. You are not doing that. You can do whatever you want, but not that.
Your dad sure made a great success out of it, though.
Yes.
And he seems to enjoy it, but that fits his personality.
Well, it's a changing world nowadays, too. And people are different. Like to be able
corporate.
A lot more corporate, but there's a lot more creepy people out there. It's like the fact that you're a beautiful young woman and that you being on air, and like your dad used to just kind of spill his guts of everything. It's so different nowadays where people are in They
People
think
are
you know
creepy.
you. Yeah.
They do. It's funny to watch how sometimes people think they know my parents and me, really my dad too. But it's, he's so good at it, and he's just puts it all out there and is good at it,
Yeah. Well, he's really good at it. Yeah. I'd love to be half or 20% as good as him one day.
Just to live in Bama's brain, it sounds like a scary thing.
Yeah.
It sounds very scary.
So, Alex, you went to Baylor for law school.
Yes.
Yeah. And how'd you like that?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I want to be in the courtroom and wanted the best training, and I'm biased, of course, but it was great. I loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, made great friends, met my current partner and my boyfriend. He's wonderful. And
he's a prosecutor, right?
He is.
Comal County, is that what you said?
He is. But, it really reaffirmed why I want to do what I want to do. And honestly kind of got me into different areas of law, too, that I didn't know I liked.
And then when you graduated from Baylor, you got into... What did you do next, and what kind of law did you get into?
I kind of just came back to keep going with family law.
So when you're in law school, do you choose your discipline there, or when you get out, then you're like, okay, this is the kind of, I want to either go into patent law or attorney law, or, attorney law, family law, corporate. Do you choose that? Kind of like medical
in school, or are you trained for everything?
You train for everything.
Okay.
You can choose, Baylor calls them tracks, and so you can qualify if you take more family law. I did, go on the family law track, but I also did a lot of estate planning too, but they train you for everything. And the last year of Baylor, it's practice court, and it's, they drill you, it's mock trial all day, every day, essentially. But came back... Because since high school, honestly, I worked in law firms or did internships in, district attorney's offices or things like that.
Yeah, you said you worked in the state and did I read state and federal level?
Did a couple of interns and externships with, varying district attorney's offices, and worked for some representatives here and there, just wanting to touch as many areas of law as possible to make sure family law is really what I like and what I want to do. Because when I came back, was what I was going to do, and I love it. I mean, I still do it. It's what I'm currently doing and going to keep doing.
So it's funny. Part of what I've learned on this show is that people say things and we all think we know exactly what that is. But if you really dig into it, you don't really know. So just define for us what family law is.
And honestly, I get that question all the time. It's divorce, but it's child custody, it's child abuse. I mean, there's CPS involved sometimes. Child support, there is that divorce part, but then there's the after part. You can do modifications on custody or child support, things like that. Adoption. Okay. That's the quote unquote happy part of family law.
Yeah.
And then do you piggyback that? Is normally family law always kind of piggybacked with the state?
Estate planning, it should be. I mean, more and more, I think, because that's kind of the area that I started leaning more toward even more. I see people, they wrap up a divorce, and it's, it's time to update your estate planning, your will, your powers of attorney. If you have it, a lot of people don't have it, and they don't even think about it. And in that moment, you're just trying to get through everything. So it does piggyback off of it. There's a lot of other areas, too, of, probate and estate planning.
I was just going to ask, is probate part of that, too? Like if somebody dies without a will, you help with that, too?
Yes. Simple that probate matters. Really, mainly, my focus is trying to get people planned for that part of their life.
What do you think is the most overlooked documents that people haven't really updated that they need to update?
Wills.
So they have minor children, or they had their first spouse, and now they need to update everything.
Really the key, honestly, I see, and I don't speak for everyone, but in my experience, what I've seen is people don't have them. I mean, you kind of get thrown into a divorce, and you're focusing on that, and you really got to get that done. And then you go, okay, I got what's left. What do I do? but a will. Because a lot of times people will do them and they'll do them 20 years ago and then don't update them. And a lot's changed in 20 years.
Oh, yeah. Well,
So,
a lot can change in just a couple years. Yeah. You buy a house or you change your 401k or something like that. I mean, there's things that need to be addressed all the time. So if somebody just needs to update it, you can help them with that too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is it still the case now? I know years back when I was in my 20s, I used to work for an estate lawyer, and we would hold those documents a lot of time. Do attorneys still do that? Because I know safe deposit boxes aren't really a thing as much anymore, where like my grandparents always kept their important documents in the safe deposit box. But like, to kind of sum that up, where do you suggest people keep their wills and these important documents so that they're able to be found?
And that's honestly, well, first thing, I tell everyone, go meet with an estate planning attorney. Okay. Absolutely. Because they will advise you on the best place with your situation. But yes, I mean, it's still attorneys' common practice that from what I've seen, they hold those documents. Now, granted, of course, it depends on the case, but that is kind of changing with the digital world, quote unquote, but not too much because you got to know where to find it.
Yeah. Or you even have to know if you're an heir, you even have to know who their attorney was. And I'm sure there's probably a lot of times where people are just calling around saying, did you have such and so as a client?
Does that happen? People trying to find?
Sometimes, but I'll say that usually your attorney, if they are in the practice of estate planning, they're going to know how to prepare for whenever it's time to make that call, and they don't have to do the telephone call game with the attorney saying, did my parent call you? So that's
Yeah. You mentioned in your bio that family laws changed in the past 10 or 15 years. How so?
Oh, man.
You mentioned the kitchen, what was it? The kitchen table litigation.
That is, from what I see, I mean, it's so much, even with, especially around in this area with so many people moving, and it's incredible growth. But the courts are backed up because of COVID. And then still. Yeah. And they're trying their best and doing what they can. And it's been a couple of years, so it's kind of tapering a little bit.
Or is it that we have an 18-year-old county clerk that can't manage the court system?
I don't know.
Oh, did I say that out loud?
Don't get her in trouble.
Don't get her in trouble. But
so how
has it changed? Yes. Yeah. Okay. I will say that what I see is because court is so expensive, it's just the world has changed. I mean, and I can't believe
is it the filing cost, or is it just the fact that you need to have an attorney for almost everything that you can't self-represent yourself in a lot of these things, that for someone like you that knows the law, that you need to have that good representation, but good lawyers don't come cheap.
Yeah,
right?
Why is it so expensive now?
It's a lot of things. And I'll say, people can do it without an attorney. You can have
when you say it, you mean divorce? Divorce,
yes. Just focusing on that. I mean, you never want to ask a doctor if they need to see a doctor. You never want to ask a lawyer if they want to see a lawyer. Yeah. But, I mean, sometimes, but I will tell you this, you don't. I think that the biggest issue with people doing it on their own, they find a forum online, and don't mistake Google for my law degree. Yeah. But, it can be done. But what changes so much in the last 10 years, honestly, is technology. People don't have the funds to go to court anymore, but people want to be right. And so the cost of being right has really gone up.
Well, that's what I was going to, you had in your bio, the cost of being right versus having something at the end, sort of like choosing your battles is so important because, so what's an average divorce cost now? What's I know it's not average. So what's the
$1 million?
Yeah. Well, so it's like.
Have you heard the term cheaper to keep her?
Yeah. But I see these divorces and they have, $500,000 of the assets and they spend $50,000 each on attorney fees. That makes absolutely no sense.
Every case is, you're going to hate this. It's I'm giving nothing but lawyer answers.
No,
It depends, but I mean, it really does. And it depends on things like their estate. Now, I'll say, absolutely 10 out of 10 times, someone that needs an advocate, it's worth it. I mean, you take
the emotion out of it.
You take the emotion out of it, and it's the most emotional part. I mean, it's the biggest financial decision. It's the biggest emotional decision, and you need someone to be seeing clearly for you. And sometimes, people have support in their family to do that. Sometimes they don't. And, especially if there's kids involved, it's become very expensive to be right, but it doesn't mean that you need to short yourself if it's worth it.
How often do people come in and sit down with you the first time and they're just mad? They're just pissed and you need to talk them down? It happens. I'll say that. It happens. Absolutely. So from a layman's point of view, I would think that would be like 95%, but from your reaction, so it's maybe more rare than you think. People come in more planned and ready to listen to reason?
Yes, that's a good question. They're more planned. You still get the anger. I think you kind of watch them go through the 5 stages of grief right in front of you. And usually they're on a different stage every time you see them. Yeah. But I always watch them evolve through a case. And it's not so much rage and anger that I see all the time. I still see that. I think it's just confusion.
Oh, is that right?
Like, what do I do? I didn't think it was going to be me, but...
Is there a certain time? I know this sounds so cliche-ish, when they talk about the 7-year itch and stuff, but are we starting to see more and more couples who have essentially waited until their kids have graduated high school and they're empty nesters and they've kind of discovered they don't know who they are anymore? I have seen a couple of friends like that where they've been married 20, 25 years and now they're getting divorced. I mean, I'm not saying that that's the average age, but are we starting to see more long-term marriages end in divorce?
And you can read those statistics too on and you see how I see it a lot, and that's kind of where kitchen table litigation comes in, mm-hmm. and where I kind of like to come in and help. So the kids are gone, they have stuff, and you take yours, I take mine. There doesn't need to be a scorched earth mentality. We just need to get it done so we make sure we protect what we've got to protect the kids mm-hmm. or to protect the family or whoever that is at stake.
How often do you have people that come in and they split those things amicably?
It can happen.
Does it?
It happens.
I've never seen it happen, but I'm not in that world. But it seems like I had one, this has been 10 years ago, and I had to sell their house, and these two folks, they said, "Oh, we're going to just have the smoothest divorce. We've agreed on everything, and everything's going to be great." And I talked to them 2 weeks later, and they were just
scorching the earth.
Yeah, and then it got dragged out over like 2 years, and they spent all this money, and now they're both not doing great financially, and it's, I think, in large part because they wasted so much time and energy and money on their divorce.
And if you don't have, what I hate seeing is people getting taken advantage of in that situation, whether it's people that are just those shadow advisors telling them they need to do it, mm-hmm. and when they don't. I mean, and it's just...
What do you mean by that, shadow advisors? You mean like somebody that is not an attorney?
An armchair quarterback?
It could be. I mean, could be. Sometimes it's their attorney. I mean, I have seen that. I think there's fabulous attorneys in the area, so it's not that. But I definitely see it where they get kind of just that narrow point of view of, I've got to fight to be right because it's all I'm going to have left. And it's not. If you do, with my cases, if that's really the case, where they're sitting down after 30 years and it's, they fell out of love, but they don't hate each other. And I mean, it absolutely happens. They still care about that person and they don't want to hurt them, but they just know that they're better separate than together, and helping them move through that transition period. If I can't do that properly, then and, I'm not doing it right, I mean, then I'm not doing something.
A lot of times on Facebook, I'll see people say, I need a ball busting attorney. And what kind of young attorney do you think sets you apart from other people? Like, why do you think clients would go to you versus somebody else, a ball busting attorney?
I don't know.
Well, you never know. Alex might
Yeah.
be a
She may be.
ball
I went
busting
to Baylor
attorney.
Law. Yeah.
Yeah, you
That's
wrote in
the
your
title.
you wrote in your bio, the time to take the gloves off and the time to reach an agreement. So
Oh, there you go.
Right.
knowing when to do what is important.
And it's, it's not always perfect execution. Sometimes there's things you can't predict, but that's kind of why, I keep myself educated. I keep myself up to date on the law and, the current local rules and what's going on in the world, honestly.
The social climate, more or less. Yeah.
Yeah, social climate, the market, things that matter and affect a divorce. And honestly, I think I don't know what they would say it sets me apart, but what I try to do in my practice is knowing when it's time to go to court and when it's time to settle, and doing my best to keep myself up to date on the law, but also being ethical. I mean, that's the biggest tenet.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's honestly, that's kind of at the end of the day, I'm going to try for any client that comes to me, and obviously it's not an advertisement, that's not it, but anytime anyone, honestly, whether it's attorney, opposing counsel, anyone, judge, anyone, I want them at the end of the day to say ethical.
Yeah.
How often do you find yourself in court, like on average during the week?
During the week, I mean, it could be once or twice. It really does depend. It just kind of depends on the case. I keep saying it depends, but it really does.
Well, there's so many variables too. I think also kind of just going back through friends who've had past experiences, I see more times than not that when people are going through a divorce, that the kids are always kind of an afterthought about what it's more about the materialistic things and who's getting the frequent flyer miles and who's getting half of the 401k and who gets to keep the house. But then like you have these kiddos that are sitting here and it's just mom and dad that are splitting up. And so how do you help parents like that navigate that kind of scary time for the kids?
It's honestly, I will say I see more and more, they always people come in if there's kids involved and go, I just want to make sure the kids are okay. And, that tells me, okay, we're here for the right reasons. We're not fighting about the silverware. But
if they do, if they're coming in and they're fighting over,
and there are those hard conversations, and because it's easy to get blinded as you go, because you could come in and say, I just care about the kids. And then you're sitting there, and the more it progresses, it is becoming about the silverware.
It's about winning. It's just about winning.
Well,
yeah.
There's also, and I know this happens, where one of the spouses wants to limit the access to the kids to the other one just to get back at
just
them.
out of spite.
That is honestly the conversation. But it also becomes, being direct with your client, it saves them time, it saves them money.
I think that's one of the most important things that you can bring to the table is, and it's the same in our business, the real estate business. You don't tell people what they want to hear. You tell them this is the lay of the land. This is how things are. And there are people out there are attorneys and there are real estate agents that'll just tell people what they want to hear all day long.
Right.
That gets real expensive and very disappointing very quickly.
Yeah, because it's that. To me, if you're telling them what they want to hear and it's not the case, well, then you're not telling them what's going on.
And you get down to it goes back to that's unethical. So just in general, though, I wanted to ask you, my wife, Holly, and I have this conversation all the time. Anybody in this country can sue anybody for anything. Is that right?
They can. They can. But should they?
I'll say the silliest thing, I cut that branch off that tree and, I might get sued. And Holly will go, you can get sued for that. I was like, no, if they want to, they can. Not that it doesn't make sense, but you can file a lawsuit for just about anything.
I'm telling you, if you don't take me to Pigpen when this thing is over, I am.
She's calling you, Alex, and she's filing a lawsuit.
Federal prison.
Yes.
We'll see. We can try and mediate it. I don't know.
But the reason I ask that is I see lawsuits, especially with our government suing people, and the costs of defending yourself, even if there's no case there or they can
destroy you. They can ruin you.
They can damage you, right? I mean, ruin you financially. That's wrong. Are there any protections for people against that?
And honestly, it depends. I mean, there is income disparity. The income disparities, it really does. That is a factor. Yeah. I mean, you can do everything, but your reputation's forever. So just even throwing something at the wall, even if it doesn't stick, I mean, there's that out of court issue too. It's an issue.
So in my scenario where my neighbor sues me for cutting a branch off his tree that hangs out over into my yard or what, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but in Texas, if that lawsuit is filed and the guy next door loses, does he pay my legal costs?
Well, come talk to me. Yeah. But I will say, broadly, as an overview, I will say people come in, that's a good point. People come in and, if they are angry especially, and they're going to pay my legal fees. Well, yeah, it depends. And usually the people that have that mentality aren't going to collect because they're kind of probably doing some other not so okay things.
Nefarious. Yeah, I know that there's one particular person I have in mind right now that's in my head, and I would like to one day publicly call him out, but I'm not going to. But he really likes to throw around my attorney will blah blah blah. I'm going to sue you.
Has anyone
blah, blah,
told
blah.
The attorney?
Yeah, and it's just it's ludicrous. Like the only person winning there half the time is probably the attorney, right?
In my experience, when somebody says that once and then acts on it, okay, that's real. When they say it 12 times and nothing comes out of it,
to 12 different people.
Smoke.
To 12.
It's like, whatever. I don't care. Just keep saying it.
So I have a kind of a mom question because I asked this about my kids a lot. So, I've known you since you were a little kid. And I really got to know you when you were in high school. So you kind of had your little circle of friends in high school, but now you're an adult and you've gone to Ole Miss, you went to Baylor, and now you've come back here into Dripping Springs. So the people that knew you in high school and the people that know you now, a lot of times when people have an opinion about somebody, they know you at the moment they've met you or they knew you at the beginning. So if they know 16, 17-year-old Alex, well, this Alex right now is a different person. You've had growth, you've had maturity. What would you say to those people here in Dripping Springs that kind of knew that Alex, that high school person, and now you're trying to build your own practice, you're trying to build your own way in the world? What would you say to that? Like, okay, not so I'm different, try me. No, it's like, yeah.
I mean, well, for starters, I'd never give away whether any of those people did come to me or didn't.
Yeah.
And so I think confidentiality in that, going back to that ethical part, because even back then, I mean, your character is your character.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So... And it is weird, and especially, even growing up, kind of thinking about, because you have people come up and they think, they know you. And, and it's funny, and that, it's me. And if you knew me then, you know me now. But, me going out on my own and starting my own practice, it's not going to affect me as a person, but you are looking for an advocate, and that's what you're coming to me for. And if you trust me and you feel, it's all about, you get a feeling. And if it's just, you go and you have your consult with any attorney, not just me, but if you meet me and you feel like it would be a good working relationship, why not? And it's because it can be weird, I'm sure. But
Well, yeah, because they've known you since you were a kid, so now they're
It's weird,
they're
yeah.
having issues. And I know there's a lot of people that kind of attorney shop, and so that the other person can't talk
I
to
feel
them.
a little like we just sort of slow rolled over something that's, that's really huge.
We kind of
Do-
outed
do
her a
you-
little bit.
So Alex, would you like to make an announcement right here on our
I feel
show?
like, we've been talking about it, but
Yeah, I know.
I'm going out. I'm starting my own practice, and I'm going to be still continuing family law. Round of applause. Thank
Good
you.
job. Hometown girl done
Hometown
good.
girl.
Good
but,
for you.
but still doing family law, simple estate planning. That's my primary focuses at the moment. And but back to kind of what you were saying, I think really and truly it goes for any attorney you meet with. You need to know that you can trust them.
Yes.
And I think that above
That your
all,
business is
my business is my business.
Yeah, and their business will become your business, but it'll all become confidential.
Right.
So just the fact that they may have known 16, 17-year-old you.
Oh, yeah.
Right? This is not
Exactly.
I'm a thriving, successful adult now, and
Absolutely.
you can have confidence
what
in me.
are what do you see as the biggest challenges to starting up your own firm?
Turning her playhouse into an office.
Yes, that's which is happening. Currently renovating, so I can have a home office. Even though I love my wonderful dad coming in and going, "What are you doing? What's going on?" But no, that's just kind of a fun side project. I think the hardest, trusting yourself, knowing that
Believing
you
in
can,
yourself.
knowing you can do it.
You can do it. Yeah.
And, as long as you don't sacrifice your principles.
Yeah,
I think
being
that's
true
all
to
you can
yourself.
do. You can only do your best. And as long as you do your
knowing
best.
that you'll have good days and bad days, and that you'll just weather that and just keep pushing ahead, and things will work out.
Well,
if you
running
just
any
keep
type
going.
of business is scary,
Yeah,
but
it
as
always is.
you've been a small business owner now for
My
probably
whole life.
30-something years, right?
40-something years.
And so, some of the challenges I think you face are that the buck stops with you.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. Yeah, you're the one in charge. So even if somebody that works for you makes a mistake, guess what?
Right.
It's still your fault.
It's, being accountable.
Yeah,
And
but it's real important that you are, though, because that's, your firm will speak. What you say speaks for your firm.
I'm going to try. And, watching, because my mom was still is a small business owner, watching her build something from the ground up, literally.
What does she do?
She had her own
Advertising.
Yeah, she had her own
yeah.
ad agency and did it for 20 years.
Jamie, big player in
She
the
is.
town.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's
She
right.
is.
Yeah,
but
that's
it was kind of empowering to watch it growing up, and it was also fun at the same time because she worked from home before honestly everyone worked from home, and I had to see her every day, and I got to have her take me to school, and it was.
And she was just mom.
She was
right?
mom.
And now you're an adult. You're a beautiful young lady, and you're an adult, and you can kind of look at your mom and go, "Wow,
Yeah, I can do it.
okay,
Yeah.
you're
I
not
can do
just mom. You knew
just
what you're
got to
doing."
have the right attitude. If you really dwell on what you consider failures, and they're really not failures, I'm doing air quotes. They're just things you learn from, so that next time you do better.
It's how you grow. It's how you learn.
That's right.
I have to compliment Jamie and Bama. They have done an amazing job on you, but even more so, you have done an amazing job on you, and it has been really exciting and really fun to kind of watch your growth from just this. Just like everybody else, you become this little awkward teenager to just a thriving, young, beautiful woman.
Thank you.
And we just wish you all the success and
y'all.
just thrive in this town.
I can tell you're going to do great. Yeah.
Thank y'all.
You've got a great personality. You're obviously really smart. You're going to do very well. And I bet you people are going to start ringing your phone off the wall.
Wow. Thank y'all. That's.
Well, Jamie, Alex,
I know.
how do we get a hold
Yeah.
of you? How do people get a hold of you if they want to?
So it'll be, you'll see announcements to come.
You don't have your website up and going yet, right?
No, but I'll be having that, going live and everything kind of official here very soon and very shortly.
And do you have an email address they can get a hold of you? Or when they do, what is your email address that they can get a hold of you right now?
Yeah, it's Alex at alexthompsonlaw.com.
Okay. And then when everything's up and running, we'll announce it here and let everybody know. And we'll put a little social media blurb
It's
for
very
you.
exciting. To be at this point in the start of your business is very exciting. I'm excited for you, and I can't wait to see what you do.
Well, you need advocates in the community, and you can count on us.
We're definitely advocates for you, Alex. And
thank y'all.
we thank you for coming in and spending this time with us today.
Thank y'all for having me. I love y'all. I love listening to y'all, and I can't wait to see everything that's to come with this podcast
It's
and everything
exciting
happening.
times. It's exciting times for all of us. So, well, thanks again.
Thank you.
Take care.
Ready to turn your land dreams into reality? Look no further than Capital Farm Credit.
Need a loan for your perfect piece of land? Capital Farm Credit is there for you.
Their dedicated team will tailor a loan to fit your unique needs because your dreams are their priority.
Capital Farm Credit. Your land, your legacy. Visit capitalfarmcredit.com or Mark Rutledge at 512-892-4425.
Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better.
Capital Farm Credit, an equal credit housing lender. Elevate your living experience with M. Elliott Studio, your trusted partner in interior design, registered and licensed by the state of Texas.
You want your home to reflect your personal style and identity. Investing in a well-crafted design doesn't just beautify your home, it enriches your life.
Team principal and owner, Montana Elliott, understands the profound impact of a thoughtfully designed space. From remodeling to full design, M. Elliott Studio is the first step to unlocking your style.
Turn your aspirations into reality. Tailored to your taste and desires, M. Elliott Studio will work to create an environment that embraces your style with style.
Your space, their expertise.
melliottstudio.com 512-781-0224.
This show has been brought to you in part by the real estate pros at the Mallett Integrity Team. When you're looking to buy or sell, you need them on your side. Why settle for less when you can have real estate done right? Give them a call at 512-829-2062 or get more info at mallettintegrityteam.com.
You know you like us, so go now to Apple Podcast or Spotify and leave us a review. Why don't ya? We love your feedback and comments. Email us at mallettandmichelle@gmail.com.
Thanks for putting up with us.